That is kind of a cool technology that a new tool that YouTube is making available to us. I'm trying to think of how we could apply this, where you can have a video on a particular topic and roll that right into a live stream afterwards, where you could discuss it. How cool would that be if you were following someone that was doing something technical, or you just wanted to just ask questions? So we'll try that out, and there might be technical difficulties. You know how it is. I do have my chat going today, finally, for the first time, so no one needs to send that to me. I was going to build, I've got everything to build the second skid, and I thought, well, we'll just do that together. And of course, if you guys want to ask me a question, you can just send a super chat or a sticker. And of course, I will stop whatever I'm doing and make sure I address you by name and your question as well. So as you can imagine, we get a tremendous amount done. Not so much than that. So, all right, let's get the fire taken care of. Mama Kitty's up here on her perch. She's already, she really enjoys the show here. And we'll get this fired up here. I've got you on a little roller cart here so we can get in on the live action. Boy, it has been cold. It's been so cold. As you know, it's when it gets down to the 20s, that's pretty hard on a West Coast man. We are not cut out for that type of environment. We like more of a tepid temperature. So it's exceedingly difficult on us. So I have been burning a lot of wood to keep that cold out today, but it's quite nice in here. I might even be a little bit overdressed. All right, let's back up here, give you the big view. We'll see what's going on. We've got all of our materials cut. Boy, I was really surprised when I started stacking up those 2x6s that we have here for those cross pieces, how much difference the thickness was. Some of them, I had 4 stacks, and one stack was almost an inch thicker. So I had to go back through and plane all those guys out. But it turned out really nice. So we have the exact same thing here. So it's pretty simple. We don't need very many tools. There's not a whole lot about this, but it did turn out good. It's going to be very handy. These came out, once I started doing it, started using that little planer. I like that little planer, that little DeWalt. I watched all the videos and watched all the reviews on that. I wanted to get the Makita. I'd already decided in my mind. I mean, I was completely dogmatic about it. I wasn't even wanting to look at the other ones, and I thought, well, that's foolish. So go around there and look. And I kept seeing the DeWalt come up to the top, and it's a whole different design. It's got those 4 posts rather than the just the 2, so you don't get you get better results. Yeah, it's a really nice tool. Oh, how's that audio, by the way? I didn't ask you guys. I probably shouldn't pull from 2 different piles. I had those already laid out. Is that audio working out better? I went back through and I did a couple tests today, and I think I got it going. Oh, the mic dropping here. Oh, we have bad frames. Audio is good? Audio is good. Oh, good to see you, Mr. Zirk. Great. Okay. Yeah, we should be on the lav. Audio is perfect. Not too loud. All right, remember, we're the hardest job in the world here, this live streaming, especially when you do it by yourself. I don't even want to know what my heart rate is, just getting up to it, trying to make sure that all right. Isn't that some beautiful. Let's see, you guys want to be closer up or a little bit wider on this? What do you prefer? Should we be up here tight, or do you want to be far away and see the big picture? You can pick the nice sides. It's all going to be covered up, but I didn't want that thing teeter-tottering on me. That must have been the thinnest one right there. Didn't even get touched with the plane, or just a little bit. Yeah, that's what I didn't go any more than I had to, so that's what I set the standard at. Keep it far. I've got these Nice timber screws here. And we'll lay out. I don't know if it's just crippling OCD or I like to have screws symmetrical. I just can't stand them just randomly placed all over the place. So I think it's worth it just to take a moment to lay out. You know, even if no one's going to see it, you know, that's always the thing. What difference does it make? No one's going to see it. It's all going to be behind sheeting, or the siding guys are going to cover up my shoddy framing, etc., right? We've all done that. Remember a store, I can't remember where I even heard this, if it was in Sweden, but it was a boat builder. By like an English carpenter in the 1800s. And he was a curator, and they were going back and looking at these old things and reconstructing how they did it in particular joints. And they found where this carpenter, and it was like a little dinghy, I think is what it was, but all handmade, you know, by a master carpenter. When they were taking it apart, they found that the carpenter had accidentally drilled a hole incorrectly in the wrong spot. And it was buried underneath the gunnels, you know, where no one would have ever seen it. It was all covered up. And yet, rather than just leaving it, he commented that the carpenter had time to make a dowel. And now this is at the time before you could just go buy one from the store. You know, he had a perfectly sized hole that he accidentally drilled and made a dowel and put it in there and shaved it off and, you know, and finished it all properly because he knew it was there. You know, it didn't even have any effect on the structure or anything. You know, so that type of, what does that tell you about the character of a man that's willing to do something like that? When no one can see it? It just seems to me, you know, I mean, you could just tell. So to take a moment when you looking at a guy that's built something in his shop, and take a moment, even when this tank comes off, if anyone, you know, ever sees it again, they'll know that that was built by someone who cared what they were doing. That was built by a carpenter, not by just some scrub. You know, seems to me anyway. Oh goodness, we have a super chat. A new member. Boy, we're starting off. The best day of the week. Goodness, I can't wait for the Sabbath. It's been a rough one. But we have a super chat from our friend and member Brian M. Shout out to you, Brian. And Brian writes, the apron rocks. I've got wax canvas leather ones for myself and have gifted a few more to the guys who don't take pay for helping me with projects. That's a great idea for a gift, Brian. That really is. Yeah, I never had one this nice. I just bought some really cheap ones off of eBay, I think, but I had 3 or 4 of them. They were just regular denim. I don't have one pocket on them, but these are super skookum. I've just put it on in the morning. It keeps my clothes clean, and it's super warm. I mean, when you look at the double layers, like the 21-ounce denim, you know, times 2, so that's, you know, plus this, so I feel like I have armor on. It's really nice. But yeah, that's a great idea. The wax cut. My granddad used to have one. He had a leather one that he got from a friend of his that was I think a farrier. I think farriers will use those. So, oh goodness, I've dropped my shades. But thank you, Brian, for that. All right, how do I get out of here? They don't make it easy on me. We have a super chat from Xavier Goslin. Shout out to you. Good to see you back. Who says, hey, Cody, I think we've been able to invite you and Jack snowbiking here in Quebec. I will email. Yeah, we'll take you up on that. Can we bring a few friends with us, like maybe a dozen or so? Let me know. You can email me, Cody@Wranglerstar.com. But our schedule's filling up. We have a group of guys that we ride with that we chase the snow, and so there's been like a 250-mile radius from Mount Hood, which takes us into Idaho, and it takes us into Montana as well, and Wyoming, I think, pretty close. But a big circle, and we follow the snow. So wherever the storms are, it's like every 2 weeks, then we go and have for the weekends and go snow biking, and it's super, super fun. But thank you, Xavier, for that super chat. I sure do appreciate that. And shout out to our newest member, Antonio Russo. Shout out to you, Antonio. Welcome. Goodness, we have a mega super chat from our friend Richard Reynolds. Shout out to you, Richard. That is very generous of you. Thank you very much. There's some good folks over here. There are some really good folks over here. All right, what we're working on here. Boy, I was thinking, I've been thinking about, doing live streams and stuff in the future, and I like the idea of doing like a Sabbath sermon, where we have a particular topic, but it's hard for me to get started with that sort of thing. I'm not a teacher. Actually, we're going to lay this out first, aren't we? I don't want to get involved in that, to be honest with you, but I have been thinking about something today, something that's been on my mind all day today. I'll tell you here in a minute. Let's see. Let's get a production line going here. So my dad was always really good at efficiency. He would order materials for like the whole house, and if the framers knew what they were doing, he didn't start cutting things wrong the way he was out of sequence, there was almost no waste. Guys would always say, you can tell on Bob's job, if you were ever cutting a board that was longer than 16 inches, you'd messed up. He was really good at that. I never liked doing that. I always wanted to get after it, start building, and then I realized the job is so much more enjoyable if you can sit down and for a half hour and pad and paper and just kind of sketch it out. Draw out in your mind how it's going to be, and seeing it on paper, you can make corrections before you make those mistakes in the wood. And then you can figure up your cut lists, your materials. That's actually kind of an enjoyable process. Okay, I need so many 2x4s and so many 2x6s, and then cut everything at once, mark everything at once, do all your layout at once, and it makes your job so much more enjoyable, and you're so much more productive than redoing everything, continuing to pull the tape measure out over and over again. Now when we go to put our screws in, we're not going to be measuring this layout each time. Got some live edge on that Doug fir right there, don't we, if we want it or not? Well, that's all right. Yeah, Mark 8:36. That's what I was thinking of. Mark 8:36. What profits it a man? How does it profit him if he gains the whole world, but in so doing loses his entire soul? And he gives a story about the man that builds the barn. You know the story about the man that his crops come in. He does so well. He's a farmer, that there's so much harvested that he doesn't even have room for it all. And he tears, and he says, what should I do about this? And he says, I know what I'll do. I'll tear down the barns that I have now, and I'll build bigger barns. and he'll have even more, as if he didn't have enough. He had more than enough then, but it just wasn't enough. Just that constant pursuit of more and more and more. I think we can relate to that. That you're never satisfied. That's what it's talking about. And then, so he said he's set for life. He would never have to work again, but it's not enough. So I know what I'll do. I'll tear it all down, and I'll build even bigger. I'll even hoard more corn, more grain, more barley. And right in the midst of that project, the destroying angel visits him, or God calls his soul back to himself and says, your soul is required of thee this very night. What did it profit you to continue to never enjoy what you have had or enjoy what you've done with your life, but right to the end you died? What did it profit you? You never got to see it. The man was thinking, just one more, just a little bit more, just one more barn, or a bigger barn, or a bigger shop, or a nicer shop, and I'll be happy. And yet, he wakes, he dies in his sleep. What should he have done? What's the lesson there? What's the lesson for us? All right, we get those marked. I think we got those guys. We got 6. Oh, missed a couple. Of course, I can't miss the parallel of just building another shop, and building a shop built out of need, or a shop built, just, I know what I'll do. I can't get it all in one, so I've got to have a second one, right? Is that, something the guy might want to think on, right? The simplification of life, of just getting back to a simple, honest life, is God's pressed things upon me in the past. The desire to get out of the city, and the desire to move to a rural country. That passion that I had for that, to completely change my lifestyle. That was a big sacrifice for us. Mrs. W had a 6-figure income when that meant something, that we walked away from, with me, basically all the burden of providing for my family on my shoulders, with a fledgling business and trying to do eBay. So I understand sacrifice. We have a super chat from Eric Stone. Shout out to you, Mr. Stone. And Eric writes, vacationed out on the West Coast a couple of months ago and saw a lot of I'd rather be in Centralia, PA. What's that about? I don't see that out in the East Coast. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what Centralia, PA is. Is that Pennsylvania? Out West Coast, I'd rather be. No, I don't know. I don't know. East Coast people are funny, it's like, we have family, of course. Mrs. W's dad he's an East Coast man through and through, Irish Catholic East Coast even, and the family still lives over there, over in Connecticut, I believe it is. And they don't East Coast man. He doesn't like to leave his home. He's dug in like a tick, as my granddad used to say. Because I know they never got out. They're never going to get out west. Never have no interest in it. It's a very different mentality. It kind of. I think it's probably just in the bone. You guys are descendants of folks that wanted to stay put and make a go of where they were at. Maybe they had holdings, or who knows what. There's just some people have an adventurous spirit and some people don't. Some people are more content just to be where they're at. I'm not saying one is better than the other. We're just different that way. But us West Coast man, of course, we are, by and large, those of us who are native here, are descendants from people that were risk takers, people that maybe, like my family, that acquired their land in the Oklahoma land rush, and then over the Dust Bowl came to the work fields on the West Coast during the Depression, and so that's an adventurous type to do that, and that's where we come from. So we are a little bit maybe more nomadic. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure what you see there. I haven't seen that particular bumper sticker, but thank you for your super chat. Thank you for your generosity. Okay. Let's get after it. Boy, nice working with that planed wood. Square, clean edges. Goodness. That is really nice. I have not been pre-drilling, and I have yet to have anything split with these big screws. They're pretty skookum. Oh, I got so tired of hearing that impact wrench rattling. It finally dawned on me. I don't like listening to that, and I'm not going to listen to it anymore. Without hearing protection on, the drill is much nicer. Let me get these close, then we'll put a square on them. I was forever looking for measuring things like calipers, anything. I had it all different places, multiple shops. I finally checked. I can show you what I did. This has been life-changing. I put it all in one drawer. All that measuring stuff. It's not very easy to get to there, is it? Whoops, runaway crane there. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Retired Ace AF, please pray for my son. He's very sick with the flu. You know, sorry to hear that. There's nothing worse than seeing your kids suffering. I'd rather suffer myself. I think most of us would. Oh, we're building ourselves a little timber-framed fire skid here. Mr. Kirby. And these nice screws that don't split the wood. I've got, oh, something split. That's the first one I've had split. Well, you never say never. Yeah, we got DeWalt. I got a DeWalt going. I got a Milwaukee. I like to I usually like to pre-drill. My Milwaukee. They're all good. I've got my most powerful one is that Makita. But if you pre-drill them, they definitely go in nicer. But it's just another step. Yeah, it does go in a lot nicer for sure. Or did I check that other side for square before I ran a screw down in it? Not paying attention. Wallaby Party, no, I didn't mill this. Yeah, I didn't get that quite square, but I think it should flex. I didn't mill this. This was milled by a guy up the canyon over to the east. His name's Bob, and he milled me up a couple units. Well, probably a whole one unit between the two of them, 2x6s and 4x4s. I have not been able to buy logs. It's just almost impossible. I tried to get logs for the firewood, and the price must be so high right now. Yeah, that'll spread right there. That they're all going export or to the local mills. Goodness, we have a super chat from Mr. Eric Stone. Shout out to you, Eric. Hand you up here. And Eric has a comment. Eric says, Centralia, PA was shut down because of coal mine fire below the entire town. Very sad, interesting situation. But like D.B. Douglas stated, it was a failed attempt at comedy. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, well, context. You know, you have to remember that I'm not an educated man here. So you have to keep the comedy pretty lowbrow for me to follow along. But I appreciate that. I'm sure someone out there thought it was hilarious. Like I would follow East Coast man's politics. Goodness. You can tell, what is it? You can tell an East Coast man, but you can't tell him much. My granddad was always going on about the Swedes. He'd say things like, that's as hard as a Swede's head. Or it was if something you really need to put the pressure on it, like you needed to break a giant bolt on a trailer ball or something. And he's like, oh, put the Swede on it, the Swede on it, or it was kind of, I don't know. He would just use it for things that were big and heavy and clumsy and hard. Well, come to find out, he worked with a guy that was actually a good friend to him. That was a great big Swedish Scandinavian, looked like a Viking. And they were mechanics together, and actually they were quite good friends, and they just bantered back and forth. But Granddad was always giving him a hard time about being a Swede. And he said, he always told me the only difference between a Swede and a Norwegian was a Norwegian was a Swede that had been dropped on its head when it was little. So I don't know. I don't know if there's so much truth to that or not, but I kind of doubt it. But that's what Granddad, he seemed to believe. But it was, of course, all a good nature. You know, we're all pro-Scandinavian over here, if you haven't guessed. Oh, goodness, here. Did I miss someone here? Oh, nope, sorry, we're good. This fresh plain timber. It's actually pretty nice trees, and these black-headed screws, it's kind of a shame to throw an old fuel tank on it. It could be so much more. I'm going to pre-drill that. That last one gave me a scare. I don't like to have it splitting on me. If you pre-drill it, even if the hole is small, it just never splits. Oh, goodness, we have a super chat from our friend Adrian. Is it Haley? Shout out to you. Get you turned up here. Who writes, have you been to Norway? No, I haven't been to Norway. I hope you did take offense. I meant no offense by that. No, but I would love to go to Norway. I've been to Sweden a few times. Mrs. W, of course, her mother is from Sweden, and family still lives over there, but we haven't been over to Norway. But I try to read the local politics when I'm there and get the vibe of, it's always interesting, the rivalries between countries, and here we have them here, even between counties and states. It's just the way people are, right? And they're trying to pick up on the rivalry between the Swedes and the Norwegians. And I could have it completely wrong, but as an outsider, from my perspective, here's how it works. Seems to me that the Swedes think themselves to be a little bit superior over the Norwegians. For what reason, I don't know, but they just seem to. I don't know if this goes back to their position with World War II or what have you, but I don't know. They just seem to put on airs a bit about it when a Norwegian is around. And if you're a Norwegian, tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. But what the Norwegians have that the Swedes don't have is natural resources and tremendous natural resources. What you guys have been able to, well, your country it's amazing what you've been able to, how it's changed things and what a valuable thing that is. And I think, I don't know that they would admit this, but I would imagine your friends across the channel there would have a very green and envious eye and would probably like to have something like that similar. But I don't know. Is that about the way it goes down? Kind of maybe the difference between old money and new money? I don't know. I could be completely off base. It's meaningless. That's just the impression that I got. I would like to hear from both sides, though, if that's close to the mark. But thank you, Adrian. Thank you for that. Shout out to you. Okay. Once we get these stuck together, it should go fast for us. It's going to have to. We're actually meeting with the Real Martian tonight. They're having a little soiree, a celebration, and they've invited us to come along for Eden. And so I'll have to leave here. I can't stay here too long. I don't think I can hold that there. Got a little spring in it. One of those fans with a guard. Yeah, I'll tell you, man. I've bumped into that thing more than once, but actually, it won't hurt you. It'll startle you a little bit, but you can stop it with your hand. It's not dangerous. I wouldn't recommend doing. It's not going to be good for the crankshaft, but it'd be fine. Thank you, the sledge. It is cozy in here, isn't it? I have realized that it's important for a man to create an environment that you like to work in, that you like to be in. If you're going to spend a lot of time in a shop or a shed, which is vital to a happy marriage. You have my permission to divert some of the family resources into making it hospitable. And we're simple. We don't need a lot, but you can splurge for a wood stove or even just a heater. Just close something in that's open so you can get a heater in there and have a place that's your own that you enjoy being around. It's fun to surround yourself with these memories too. Your granddad's antlers up there, and then I have mine to the right there. I have the first deer I shot with him. So those are cool things. That was his big goal. Let's see. I'm going to go step away for just a moment. I want to measure where those tabs are. I have 2 different tanks, and I want to make sure this placement is right. So here, I want to bring you guys over here. You can keep Mama busy there. Keep an eye on her while I'm stepping out. Mama. You are so lazy today. We'll be right back. Oh, 8 inches is the number for us, so that's fine. It's getting warm in here. I might have to lose a layer. You dress for the super freezing weather, and then you get that stove in here, and then you're hard to regulate your temperature. Wood stove recommendations, I'm not the expert on it. I can just tell you what I've had. And I can tell you I prefer soapstone wood stoves. I like the way they heat better. And Hearthstone, I've had two of those, 3 of those, 2 or 3 of those, a couple Yo Tools, 3 or 4 of those, quadrifiers. They've all been good, but the Yo Tools, the Swedish stoves seem to be, they're among my favorites for a cast iron stove, and the Hearthstone, like these here. This is a real basic one, but you can get them that are more ornamental if you like, are really, really nice. But once you have a soapstone stove, you'll not want to go back. So that tab's going to be at 8 inches. Yeah, that's fine. That's just what we want. Oh goodness, we have a super chat. We have a super chat from Forrest Ghost Preparedness. Shout out to you, Forrest. He writes, Cody, thank you so much for all the valuable content you produce, modeling my workshop after yours. You're in our prayers, and bless you. Thank you. Yeah, this was my dad's idea. I hadn't thought of it. What I was going to do was, I thought, okay, well, we have a lot of area to cover, and I was thinking plywood. So I get some nice, paneled plywood, and then, maybe even, trim it out, do details like we did at the old shop. But I added it up and well, that's going to be super expensive and a lot of work. And he goes, why don't you just go get that 2x6 decking, that select deck. It's nicer, it's a higher quality stuff. It still has knots in it, but it's a high quality, it's been hand selected. And they have it in like timber frame structures where you want the floor upstairs, you want it to be exposed. It'll be the ceiling for the downstairs, and you want it to look nice, and it's all T and G, and it's thick. It's nice, and I thought, well, that would be a waste of wood. But when you got to figuring, you had to build a 2x6 wall, so now you're even losing more space, and then all of the expense and the time, like this made more sense, and you can get it any length you want and just run it up and down. So we just screwed a couple of garbage 2x6s to across those, they call the purlins? I can never remember. Those horizontal members, and then just went right across and just toe nailed them right through into the wood. It was super simple and fast. And the cool part about this is that now you have a thick wood wall that you can screw into. So this stuff isn't too bad. You can get, I've seen ponderosa pine. They'll have it for decking, it's for outside, but you could do something similar to that. You're not going to have the T&G. The T&Gs are really important if you want it to be tight, not like see between it, because as the wood dries, it'll shrink up. But if you don't mind that a little bit, then you could basically do the same thing. Yeah. But it's really nice for mounting things too as well, because you have such a thick bit, you have backing. And the whole wall is backing, so whatever you want to screw something to it or add a shelf or paper towel hanger, you can screw right to it. So it's cool. It was a great idea. I don't know how I would do it any other way in a shop, really. If you want it to look nice, be nice, if you're going to be working there and have nice warm wood walls. It's gloomy to have insulation exposed in wet, nasty drywall or paneling. I just don't subscribe to the fact that the woman should be kept inside in luxury and comfort with all the resources from the family going into trinkets and curtains and doilies and towels and stuff, while the man has to live like a second-class citizen out in some wet, dank garage somewhere. If that's the case, I mean, we're not asking for the Taj Mahal, but I do want a place that at least I'm not freezing. At least my tools are not rusting, and my stuff's getting ruined. That the guy could keep a computer or TV out there or something. So get yourself a little mini refrigerator, put your favorite drinks in there. Even though it's kind of a mind trick, it is a nice treat when you're working on your bike on Saturday and it's hot and you look over and you got a little mini fridge. I mean, you can get a mini fridge now for $150. Put your favorite drinks in there. It does feel pretty good to be able to go there and open your fridge and pull your favorite beverage out for free. Even though it's not free, it feels good. I don't know, you feel like a little kid again. But thank you, Forrest, for that. Sure do appreciate your generosity. Hope your shop's turning out good. Are you doing the same wood I am? Okay. Well, I can't tell you what a blessing it is to have a proper hardware store close by. That's something 10 years went without, where it was if you needed anything, it was a major or drive, hours, driving. Oh, yeah, these are splitting. I wonder, you wouldn't think that the moisture content changed that much between, they've been in here for 12 hours by the wood stove. It's possible. It is possible. So let's see, this wood's been outside. It was cut out of logs, sat outside, and didn't have much time to cure. What do you think the moisture content of that is? We can find out here. I happen to have a moisture meter. Pretty cool little tool here. All right, so we can see here there's 0%. You have two probes, and it measures across it. It somehow knows what the percentage is. Boy, that is be right. You check it in the end grain there. Oops. I don't know why I'm not getting a reading on that. Oh, here we go. Oh, it says 10%. That's awfully dry. Well, that's surprising. Maybe not. No, I guess that's probably right. It was sitting cribbed up out under intense sun for a couple months, and it is only 1.5 inches. So yeah, 10%. It was wet like when I brought it in, but that was basically just some surface rain. It takes wood that thick. It takes a long time for it to absorb, especially if it's in a stack, because the top pieces, they'll slowly absorb, but most of it shed off, and then it'll filter through, but it takes a long time. So that's pretty dry stuff. That's probably why it's cracking. So we can pre-drill it. You guys looking forward to the Sabbath coming in this evening? Boy, I am. 3 o'clock. We got a little bit more time here. Probably have enough time to finish this up. It's not, no, Jeff, it's not dark here yet. It'll be dark at 5, I'll bet. Okay, I'm going to save this screw. We don't need to double it up because the tank screw will go right through that at 8 inches. So we'll save ourselves. These are about 79 cents a piece. These screws. Goodness. Hugh, man, howdy from the UK. Good to see you. Rough. Oh, the drill was super loud? Yeah, they are loud. What's special about the screws is they tend not to split the wood, although we had one split today. But yesterday they didn't split. And contractors are using these where they used to use those great big heavy galvanized lag bolts that we're so used to buying, and these are actually stronger and much smaller, and they're just so much easier and better to put in. You can get super long ones. And they have a nice head, so you don't need a washer, and they finish out really nice. They're Torx, so if they're exposed on a deck or a handrail, they look really, really nice. They're just super strong, and they hold well and finish nice. They're kind of the whole package. I just like everything about them. Rub some soap on them. Yeah, that's a good trick. I did have the ugly side up there. This goes against my nature, but I guess the tank's going to sit on, or it's going to be on the ground, so. Sometimes you just got to stop it. No, the program's not on a loop. This is live. This is happening right now. That would be impossible to fake. You wouldn't be able to respond to the chat in real time. You guys are not digging the drill noise. Just run it in fast and get it over with. I-5 is shut down right now? Where? And which lane? Southbound or northbound? What happened? Well, I haven't been on I-5 for a long time. I don't get out really much anymore. The only time I really leave is I'll take Mrs. W out to supper or travel for Jack's debate things and such, but maybe to go if you get a good deal on something off of Craigslist or Marketplace. I guess it's all Marketplace. I don't think really buy much anything off of Craigslist anymore. I don't know what happened to Craigslist. It seems to have died. It was all the thing back in the day. But Marketplace is better. Oh, CO2 should be moved up higher because oxygen tends to. Okay, I got it down on the ground there. I haven't really thought about that. Jariah put that there per the inspector, I think. I don't know why. Marketplace took over. That's what it was, huh? They sell a lot of stuff on Craigslist. Used a lot of buy a lot of stuff there too. You know, you'd love to get out, but Portland is so lovely. Yeah, it's not lovely. My brother-in-law went down there. He's a creative director for a big international design firm, and they have an office in Portland. And he actually, he had a house here. He's lived here for a long time, but they live overseas now. But he hadn't seen it, but had heard about it. Had heard from all of his friends, and when he was visiting us, I think he was having a hard time believing it, that it was as bad as everyone was saying. And he went for himself, and he saw that indeed it was worse than what he had thought. I've got a whole day of footage. I have not done a video. I think I still have it of Brian and I. I could make the video. Brian and I took our one wheels. This was this summer or this fall. Yeah, it was fall. It was towards the end of summer. We took the one wheels with another friend of ours, did a chase, and we ripped through all the old neighborhoods in Portland where it's really gritty, and rode those one wheels, and we videoed the whole thing. So I have all. So it was crazy. Like we were riding right through the tents, and it was absolutely wild. And they went up and did the zoo bomb, the famous Portland zoo bomb, and did all of that, and it was absolutely a blast. So we used to do that with rollerblades. We did that, back when those were popular. That was the We were hoodlums, terrorizing the city in rollerblades. That was rebellious back then. As funny as that sounds now. You had to be rebellious. Goodness, we have a super chat. We have a super chat from our friend Sebastian. Shout out to you, Sebastian. Sebastian writes, I love your work. Just need to ask your take of Trump running one more time. I follow the U.S. and Sweden when it comes to politics and find it all funny. Oh, I think he's a joke. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't. I don't know why so many people still support him. You know, I mean, I'm not going to get into it, but it's laughable. I'm done with the whole system. I'm not going to participate in it. I'm not voting anymore. It just doesn't matter. I'll just stick with my local issues. So I don't know. I don't care. I mean, I heard that he announced that he was running again. Everyone knew that he was. So, you know, he's running around, you know, doing his shows. But we're just living in clown world. You just have to laugh. You just have to laugh. It's just sad. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an opinion because I just don't care. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference. It just doesn't make any difference. You know, the way he exited and what he did and you know, the whole things with the way he handled COVID and initiating the lockdowns and all of that, you know, and who he pardoned and, you know, just the whole thing was all so self-serving and who he surrounded himself with and, yeah. I can't even imagine anyone going out and stumping for any of them, to be honest. Thank you for your generosity, though, Sebastian. I sure appreciate that. Oh, we're not supposed to put double screws on that one. All right, I think we're ready to flip it over. This one here. Trump. I'd take a look at Trump's inner circle if I were you before I'd get too enthusiastic about your hero. Look who's benefiting. I'll tell you the honest truth about where my Milwaukee tools are. No, my Milwaukee tools I usually use them just for automotive. I have most of what I have are the little ones, the M12s, 12 volters, and they're not big enough to turn these screws. So when I do carpentry work, I have DeWalt. Not because one's better than the other. It's just it's what I'm invested in. I already have tons and tons of batteries, and so I've just stuck with it. All my stuff is all flex volt and core, so that's why I use it, just out of convenience. Maybe over here, big knot right there. Oh, goodness, we have a super chat from WRC, double alternator member. Shout out to you, WRC, who writes, Cody Filson has a tin cloth utility apron. Really been enjoying the love streams. Yeah, that would be nice, a tin cloth utility apron. I really am kind of partial to this one. I think I asked Mrs. W. She said $62. She got one for her and one for me, and now I have two because it's too big for her. So that worked out great. So I have a spare. We have a super chat from the next Lennon, who writes, "Okay, I have to know if you dug the shop vac. You know I dug the shop vac out of the trash. I'll tell you what though, man, I was fit to be tied by the time I got that stupid bag out of there. I took your advice and I did take it outside. I took it outside and I shook it and I shook it and I shook it with all my might. It would not come out. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, I've got a rigid shop vac that some Mensa designed as the shape of an egg with a small opening at the top. So as the bag fills and expands in the bottom, you can't get it out. It punishes you if you overfill the bag. So getting it out, and then of course it started to tear. And what do you think I have in the bag? But I don't know, 15 gallons of pure ash from the wood stove. It was flying everywhere. I was flying. It was all over me. I had to take 2 showers. It was absolutely a fiasco. But yes, once I calmed down, put it back together, dug it out of the trash, and there it sits over there with a new bag in it. We have a super chat from On the Water, who writes, "Hey Cody and chat, how's the tribe doing tonight? We are doing well. We had last night, Mrs. W, I told you Jack has a girlfriend. Mrs. W and I think the world of her. She comes over every Thursday night and we have a nice supper. So last night, Mrs. W made her famous tomato soup, and Jack makes the best grilled cheese sandwiches. They're absolute perfection. So he made his grilled cheese sandwiches, and we had homemade apple pie, and we played D&D. Jack is our dungeon master, and we are a trio going through, and this is Mrs. W's first time. So we do that on Thursday night, so that was fun. Tonight, Sabbath, our friends, many of you will know Jeff, the Real Martian. He's a fellow YouTuber, our old neighbor and good friends of our family. He has, their business, Eden, has been doing well, and it's expanding, and they have a retail space that's it's a bit of a drive for us, but we're going to drive down there and see them this evening and have supper with them. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, everyone's well. The Sweet Loaf is doing well. Jack is doing competitive debate. We're going to need to get the snow bikes in here. We're going to be up on snow biking pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to taking you up and showing you guys some video on that. We just need one more storm, and that could be this weekend. But it's been super, super cold. Super, super cold. But thank you, WRC, for your generosity. And the next Lennon, yeah, you know, I'll dig that stupid thing out of the trash. I did look at the Snap-on vacuums, and they were nice, but they're very expensive. Yeah, Mr. Landfill, he knows. You obviously are a man of taste, style, and culture. If you can see the brilliance of this beautiful apron, just wait till it weathers in. Now, if our friends, our Japanese friends over at Ironheart would do a take of this with their denim, I would be first in line for one of those. That would be something. I actually had a dream the other night where I thought about producing, if that would be possible to produce. I met a woman down the road here that is really into natural dyes, but she comes up with the most beautiful colors, and she grows all of everything that she needs to make these dyes, and has a background in design, and I was talking to her. It was just so interesting, but I thought, well, how cool would it be to go from pure organic local cotton, not local, but get organic cotton thread, and then do local indigo dyeing. And I do know someone that could even do the weaving. I wonder what's involved to make denim. What it would take? What type of a special loom you would have to have for that? I imagine it's got to be pretty intricate. It's got to be really involved. The weaving is so tight. I don't know. But someone needs to make that's not, that's a real handcrafted, like a real one that would last you a lifetime, like Ironheart, to make like a 25 ounce denim apron. Wouldn't that be something? Man. Yeah, but this one's cool too. I'm super happy with it. It's the best one I've had. It'll wear in nice as well. All right, shall we flip it over? What time we have? 3:18? 3:18. All right, I'll probably go to about 3:30, gentlemen, and I'll have to shut it down. We have a bit of a drive. There's pictures of Portland back at the turn of the century when the city was first being built, and they used to call it Stumptown because the whole Willamette Valley was just carpeted with giant old-growth Doug fir trees. This very wood right here, the wood of my people. They had so much wood that they made the sidewalks and the streets out of wood. You can go look it up. Look at the wooden sidewalks and streets of Portland. Not just Portland, many logging towns. Such a tremendous abundance and such high quality. Imagine the smell. Must have been fresh sawn timber. I bet the people were happy to get up out of the mud, walk on those wooden streets. That's an abundance of resources when you can do that, isn't it? Can you imagine? Oops. Oh, I keep I didn't mark these guys out, did I? We need to mark these. I guess we'll just lay them out here and mark them. Oh, we have a new member. Steve, is it Calm? Kime. Shout out to you, Steve. Welcome. Steve enjoys his new West Coast avatar. I need to, I've been thinking about, we're going to have to do our annual new emoji drops for members. And I've been trying to think of some good ones. We're probably going to want to do about 6 new emojis. And I have 3 of them in mind already. What did I do with my pencil? A Sterling fan emoji, Mr. Mike. That is an excellent idea. I'm going to write that down. A Sterling. All right, that's going to happen. You will have that, Mike. All right, make your request now. You have my ear. Monty, Cody, you're doing a fine job there. Hope you're not on hourly. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not even actually thinking about what I'm doing. That's why I do things over and over again. Isn't that the goal in life, though, is to get to the point where if you decide you want to take all day, do a simple task, that you have the freedom to do that? Tell me how you could achieve anything in this life that would be better than that. Honestly. That's what we're working towards. I'm not there, but there are little glimpses from time to time. Shop vac. All right, I got it. Shop vac emoji. That will happen. We already got the wood stove. Yeah, we got the wood stove in there. It's time everyone slowed down, Monty says. Yeah, you know, it's true. I feel it. It's time everyone slows down, and it's time everyone simplifies. I think we're going to be simplifying if we want to or not, the way things are shaping up. No, we have a Mama Kitty. Oh, Japanese jeans, of course. Jeans, denim, jeans. Not just any jeans, though, you know. They are not created equal. Maybe me on fire from spilling gas, like Jay Leno, and it igniting. Or an exploding lantern. That lantern scared me again today. It's every day I got to look forward to that, doing battle with that thing. Well, that's a little rough sawn right there, huh? That's getting every last drop right there, isn't it? I'll probably bring it up a little closer. What's going on, Mama? How are you doing? Oh goodness, we have a super chat from the Gun Doctor. Shout out to you, Gun Doctor, who writes, still offers a super quiet shop vac. I use one at my shop. Is it cordless? I hadn't even thought about looking at them. I haven't used any of their cordless tools, but I've heard people really like them. I've heard they're good. I saw something that was kind of cool the other day. It was there's quite a few of those Rivian trucks around. And I saw one that was right in front of me. It was a brand new Rivian, which is the electric truck. And it had two really nice, probably $20,000 electric mountain bikes, downhill mountain bikes in the back. Everything electric. I don't know if that's the future or not, but it was kind of cool. Just the idea that you could, right after you could charge the bikes with the electric car. I don't know. More and more I think about this. I thought the electric cars, that was really going to be the future, and I wonder sometimes if it's not a red herring. It just doesn't seem. I mean, we can hope for it to happen, but starts looking at it might be just marketing and feelings, and you start looking at what is involved with building these batteries. It's like, well, zero emission, but yeah, maybe zero emission here, but it's not zero emission wherever they're strip mining. I don't know. Who knows, man? It's hard to, here we get on here trying to make sense and understand things in a clown world where things are not meant to be understood, but to be confusing. I mean, that's really the new definition of insanity, is trying to make sense in a world that doesn't make any sense. So I think we've tried to talk and persuade and present arguments and facts. And I think we're realizing, well, I am, and I know I'm not alone. A lot of us are realizing that there's a segment of the population that there aren't any facts, there isn't anything that you could bring, there isn't any evidence, true or not, that you could bring that would dissuade them. And remember, brothers, that all of those people that went crazy during the lockdowns, that went extreme, those are the very people that we know now. And they might be in your very family. Friends, coworkers, you know who they are. But those are the very people that will drop a dime on you if in some way they feel threatened, or they are told or brainwashed into thinking that even though you're family, it won't make any difference. You know, the good book tells us in the final days, something that will happen, that will be a sign of the times, is that the love of many will wax cold, as the old King James put it, in those final days, and that father will be at enmity with his son, and mothers with daughters, sisters with brothers. You know, there'll be trouble in the families. That even in the very blood families, there'll be issues, whatever that may be, that we won't be able to get along. We can't coexist. We can't ever see each other's point of view. You know, we saw that with this segment of the population that became unhinged. And that is not someone you can reason with. That's not someone you can trust. You know, it's very much on this thing with Gideon. You know, Gideon separating his troops. You know, what separated those 400 from the rest of the guys? Well, their situational awareness, right? That they were suitable. They were going to be men that wouldn't break under stress in combat. And I think we're seeing the same thing with the way people reacted and how they reacted, and we're going to see how they react when they're put in stressful situations. And then we'll know, you'll know who your tribe is, you'll know who your people are. But remember that those of God's people, God's remnant in the final days is going to be a very small minority. So if you find yourself in the majority of a crowd, persecuting the church, you might want to take a look at that. That's why we need to know those scriptures so we don't get caught up in that great deception. We have a super chat from Kill King 110. Shout out to you, Kill King 110, who writes, if you had to move as a young man again with the current issues of drought and water issues, would you move north or south? I would always move north. For me, south always seems, and this is crazy, but always going to the south always depresses me and feels like regression. I don't know if I'm just a homer for the north, living up in the northern portion of the country or up in the northwest, but I just love everything to the north. When I think of going to the north, I think of snow and mountains, and that's where all of the fun, that's where everything is, that's where I want to be. And everything south, it starts to diminish and dry up and turn into California and Texas. So, which is nothing against them, but a climate that I don't particularly enjoy. So it would be a no-brainer. Plus, there's no humidity here to speak of. Once in a while, for a couple days out the summer, it might be a little bit muggy, but generally no humidity and almost no bugs. So when I think of the South, I think of skeeters and gators and swamp and and Southern Man down there. I can tell you a story. I almost got beat up by Southern Man just passing through on my way from Florida. So I was living down in Florida for a while. And when I decided to move back home, I rented a U-Haul and packed up my stuff and started making the long drive across the country. Well, I got deep into the heart of Southern Man's country, and I think it was right around Louisiana. Pulled off the road into a small, like a roadhouse type of bar, restaurant type of place. I wasn't there to drink. I was stopped there for lunch. And I walked in, and just from there was quite a few locals in there, and I just ordered something off the menu, and they picked up on my accent immediately. And realized that I wasn't from around there. And within 5 minutes, I was packing up and leaving before my food came because I felt unwelcome. You know, they were starting to make comments, and you know, I don't know if where they thought I was from. There was something about the Civil War they were going on about, and I thought, oh, that's very strange that they're going on about that. But I don't know. That was my experience with Southern Man, and I haven't been back since. Southern Man tried to beat me up, and a UK London man tried to beat me up as well. We have a super chat from Matthew Ariga, who writes, hey, huge fan of the channel. I love the idea of eventually becoming a professional homeowner. I want to know what quality tool brands you recommend to invest in, like Files, etc. Thank you. Files are tough. I have not been able to find USA-made files anymore. I don't even think there are any made anymore. So when it comes to files, anything from Switzerland is, I've always been told and have experienced to be about the best. Also, when we were going through a lot of files in the saw filing class, the guys there liked the files from Portugal. Said there's some really good files coming out of Portugal as well. So those are the two that I kind of look for. So if I'm looking at files, if it says China or overseas, anything like that, I'll stay away from it. I won't buy it. And some of the cheaper files, I guess, I've been told this, I don't know it to be 100% true, are case hardened versus hard all the way through. And they don't seem to hold up near as well or bite. But man, you get a good Swiss file. Ooh, it's like, you can just watch, if you get the sun right, you can just watch the metal just falling off the piece. It's a joy to use. Doesn't shatter. Just keep it clean. Get a file card. Make sure you keep your file clean. You file, you push for the file, and then you take that file card and you clean those teeth out. Other brands I like, as far as carpenter tools, or I guess maybe mechanics tools. I love Snap-on tools. I don't make any apologies for it. I think they're the best. The price is shocking. I understand that, but I pay it. I don't get any deals either. I could make a phone call and have all the Harbor Freight tools. I could make a phone call and have anything free I wanted, but I want to work with them. I enjoy them. My granddad had them. I grew up from the time I was 5 years old with coveralls working with Snap-on tools. He was not a wealthy man and did not buy anything ornamental or anything that wasn't worth. He was very smart with his money, and it was a wise investment to him. And he bought them. And so I bought my first set when I was 18, and I've been building ever since. So it's just a lifetime thing. Most people are not going to be able to go out and buy a whole set, but you can. A good resource if you want to know how to build a good set is if you can go order their catalog, or just go online, go to snapon.com, and they have their big sets that they put together for beginner machinists or beginner mechanics. And they've always had a program where if you're a young man that goes through a trade school, oftentimes your first order of tools, your initial purchase, you can get them for half price through Snap-on. So a lot of guys will get started that way. It's a pretty good program. But for the rest of us, what's good about those kits is it kind of gives you a really good overview of what a basic kit should be and what you would need. I was actually looking at it this morning, and just the way they had it set up for the basic journey or apprentice kit with a good set of wrenches and sockets, a couple of hammers, a soft hammer and a ball peen hammer and a hacksaw, just all those things that a guy would need for a well-rounded shop. But that's a good resource. You could buy that kit and start with that and just get a basic a top cab with 3 or 4 drawers. That wouldn't be a bad way to go. Or you could just use it as a guide to think, okay, I'm going to use this kind of as a template to start building my own set. I'll start with some cheaper tools, but I'll start with the foundational tools, which are going to be my wrenches and my sockets. Wrenches, sockets, and ratchets. Start building the Snap-on set, and you can buy them used too. You can go on, again, Facebook Marketplace. You can buy stuff for 60%, 70% off a new, maybe a little bit less than that. But thank you for that super chat, Matthew. Sorry for calling you Martha. We have a super chat from Mr. Timothy. I don't know how to say that. Timothy P. Shout out to you, Timothy, who says the lockdowns were a blessing. Now we all know who we can trust and who we need to separate our hearts and lives from. Jesus is always the answer. Yeah, it was. With hindsight, I think we can start to say that now. It was a blessing. Yeah, it's amazing. We're still untangling with some former friends that for that very reason. That and of course they don't understand why. They thought the way they acted was completely reasonable, but how we saw people that way, we saw them as a major liability and a danger and a threat to our family. And so we paired them out. We rooted them out. We have a super chat from JS. Shout out to you, JS. And JS writes, I appreciate everything you do in all aspects. How do you stay motivated to do all that you do? Also, what is a profession business you think would be advantageous to enter into? How do I stay motivated? Well, it's simple. If I don't work, I don't eat. That's a pretty big motivator. I don't know where you're at. I wasn't always motivated. I was actually, my dad probably would have thought me to be quite lazy when I used to work with him. And that's just because I didn't like working with my dad. It's hard to work with your old man. I'll tilt you up here sometimes. I think for a lot of us. But although I didn't do a very good job helping him. I learned by watching him how to work, because he did the work of 2 men, as did my granddad. So the lesson in that is our children are going to listen to very little of what we tell them. They're going to be watching us. They're going to watch what we do, and that's going to impress them more than what we say. But it was model for me how to work, how to properly work, how to be efficient with your time. And leaving the house at 18 and being thrown out into the world, I mean, it's sink or swim. You work or you don't. As a man, women think that they're oppressed, but I think it's much more difficult for men. There's so many resources for women. And a woman, even if she's got multiple kids with multiple baby daddies, there's always going to be some dude, some simp that will take her in. If she has got anything going, even if she's even older, there's just so many hungry dudes out there. So many safety nets. They've got shelters. They've got programs. I mean, there's just everything for them. But a dude, man, if you don't make it, if something happens to you, or you get hurt or sick, and you don't have family to fall back onto, or a good, faithful woman that won't leave you in the lurch, you're screwed, man. There's no one cares. No one's gonna. There's nothing there for you. No one's gonna bring you in or bring you in and make you a wife. That's just not going to happen. So, that right there is motivation enough. Plus, just the thought of being dependent upon another man is abhorrent to many of us. I would rather die, to be honest. I mean, and I worry about that. You make a statement like that. That's where my pride. You tell where a man's pride lays. That's the thing that scares you the most, the thing that you would resist the most. I mean, that's what my pride is in my ability to provide well for my family. And for that to be taken away is pretty frightful. I remember watching my dad struggle with that, as his health deteriorated, and how he altered his life and, use technology and equipment to keep himself to be in that position, to not be a burden upon the family, and how he was able to do that to the end, to keep his dignity that way. That was absolutely critical to him. And I'm cut from that same cloth. I feel that same way. So there's pride comes into it, not to let yourself, to not get up and work and to make a living and to fall into poverty. My pride alone wouldn't let me do that. I don't have to live in some big mansion or anything, but as long as I was, moving forward. Yeah, I don't know. I've never had a problem with motivation. I've been depressed in my life, seriously depressed. I'm not talking about medication and counseling, and just sad, and where I felt like, what's the point? I just didn't want to get up in the morning. What's the point of even going on? And that was typically because I didn't have a purpose. And not having a purpose for men is really bad. You need to get yourself a purpose. If you don't have one, you need to create one. Even if it's just taking on something that has scared you, or a challenge, or giving yourself a goal. It's like if you're living at home and you've got nothing going on and everything just sucks, say, well, how can I get out of this? What do you need? What do you need to get out of this? Well, I need a place, or I need a car. Well, you make that the focus of your life. Whatever it is that can buy your freedom out of your predicament, that's what you need to be laser focused on. And that will take you out of a lot of that depression and sadness, and give you a purpose for getting up and going. It's easy to go do 2 jobs a day and do things that you might think are beneath you. You might have to go deliver pizzas. You might have to work at Walmart, fast food, whatever, security guard. But just remember, this is for a purpose. I'm not taking this $20, $30 an hour and just squandering it chasing women or on whatever, the bar, or drinking. I just put away $600 last week towards that truck, which is going to be my freedom, my ticket to ride, or that piece of equipment that's going to start my business. Look at it that way. Give up. Stop chasing these women. I wasted so many years doing that. Stop chasing these women, and get yourself sorted and get yourself established, and a confident man. The confidence that will come from that when you pull yourself out of your predicament, and you do it with your own hands, and you pull yourself out of that, and you're sitting in your apartment. It can be I remember a time where I would have killed for a car. I didn't have a car. I couldn't get a car. I had this crappy motorcycle, and I was riding a 3-hour commute, hour and a half each way in the winter rain, and this motorcycle. I didn't even have a full face helmet. I had a stupid brain bucket with these Malcolm Smith goggles on. It was absolutely wretched. And I had to work outside in the rain, laying pipe. So I was, of all men, the most miserable that winter. But I had nothing, I'd just been thrown out, or left the church, thrown out, and living in a flop house with a bunch of crazy drug people in the worst part of town. But I had a mission to get out of that environment, and I just wanted a car. And I remember that first drive, and before the car even. Before the car, my mission was to get a full face helmet. I was so broke that a full face helmet I would have been happy to ride in the rain if I could just have something over my face, was beyond me. I could barely even eat. I couldn't even eat. There were times there that I would go in. I've never admitted this before. I'll admit it. I went in, and I where you get like the fried chicken, and you get the chicken and the JoJo's. That I went in and got the fried chicken and walked out and didn't pay for it because I didn't have any money for lunch, starving. Hadn't had breakfast either, and then vowing like someday I'm going to go back there and pay for this chicken, which I didn't do. But I've always thought about that. But that's how desperate I was at the time. I didn't know what else to do. I just didn't know what else to do. And I remember getting that motorcycle helmet. First time I could buy a motorcycle helmet, it was bright red, and riding in the rain and not hitting me in the face, how glorious that was. And what an achievement that was, just to get that motorcycle helmet. That was everything to me. And then that moved on to a crappy car, but it didn't matter because now I was inside and I wasn't cold anymore, and that's how that's how I started. I was thrown out into the world, torn away from my support structure, and I had not been raised or educated to survive in that environment. So it could have went either way, and man, it was a knife's edge so many times. And it was people would come in my life that would influence me negatively. You get around people that were doing heroin, get down into that lifestyle for a while, and then meet people that had affected me positively and introduced me to a loving God instead of the angry one that I was raised with. So it's quite a journey. We all have these stories. But that's our 40 years of wandering, Goodness, I'll take these super chats, and I've got to shut it down, gentlemen. We have a new member. Is it a new member? No, old member. Back Creek Homestead, shout out to you, who says, thanks for all your work, live stream, highlights of the day. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we have a super chat from GLG Forge Works, triple locked member. Shout out to you, GLG, who writes, always great seeing your live stream. It's always great seeing you here as well. And we have a super chat from Killing King 110, Kill King 110, who writes, if you had to move as a young man again with the current issues of drought, north to south, I already read that. Also, I didn't answer your question either about what vocation I would get into as a young man. I would get into the electrical trade, into electrical engineering, electrician, lineman. That's to be a good job. Anything like that, I think, is going to be in high demand, and I think it's good work. And there's good dudes that work in that field too. Real masculine men, good men. I got backed up here. Yeah, JS. That was to answer your question. That's if I was to go back with what I know now. That's what I would do. We have a super chat from Philip Dupont. Shout out to you, Philip. And Philip writes, should I open up a general store in my hometown to save the community? St. Lazare General Store, located in St. Manitoba, Canada. Well, I would take a look at the books. I guess if it's a dying town, I guess first off is why are they selling it? If the family is aging out, that would be the best case scenario, but I'd take a look at the books and see is it profitable. And also remember how much time is involved in running something like that and how difficult it's going to be to staff things in the future. The work ethic that younger people and a lot of people have is changing. My default is like, oh, those kids, how come they're so lazy? I don't necessarily see it that way anymore. If I was born into this environment, I would be a little cynical of myself. A patriotism, really? I mean, we're kind of beyond that, right? I mean, would you be thrilled to sign up for a draft right now? Would you willingly give your firstborn son to the meat grinder to go protect foreign nations that have interest outside of our very own? Maybe you might want to have a plan for that. Do you have teenage kids that could be in the draft age? I'm not telling you what you do, but maybe you want to have a plan A and a plan B, right? At least have thought it out, what you're going to do in any given situation. We have a super chat from Josiah Young. Shout out to you, Josiah. And Josiah, he's in his shop right now building an oak nightstand. Wasn't raised with a dad that taught me things, making things, but I'm grateful for channels like yours that shows men that this is, yeah, you just got to go in there and start doing it. As you know, Josiah, that's what my dad always taught me too. He's like, just start doing it. You'll figure it out. He would send it was funny that I was visiting my family in Idaho last week. And my first cousin, who's a year older than me, I've always liked him. He's a good dude. He's a contractor now. But when he was first getting started, him and I worked together for some jobs. We were just kids. My dad would send us out to projects that were our head, and we were laughing about that. How Dad oh, you'll figure it out. Us going there having no idea what we're doing, but that's how you learn. He was a good teacher that way. Forced us. My sister's the same way. Both of us have good skill sets because of the mindset he taught us to figure it out and to be curious, person and to find and learn how to access information. That's one thing I've learned from Mrs. W. One thing that Mrs. W is the Jedi master at is accessing information. Oh, she's an asset to me. More precious than rubies, that woman. If you were to offer me the biggest bag of rubies in exchange for her, I'd send you packing. Kicking rocks. We have a super chat from Tahoe Realm. Shout out to you, Tahoe. And Tahoe writes, thanks for the great place to meet up well, thank you. Thank you for being here. And a very generous super chat from Buffalo Mike. Shout out to you, Buffalo Mike. And Buffalo Mike writes, if you tap the tip of any screw with a hammer before screwing it into wood, you will never split it. Never say never, however, it has never failed me. That's true. Yeah, my dad taught me that years ago. It's absolutely true. If you take like a deck screw, like a 3-inch screw, that's an incredible mystery, isn't it? How that is. I wonder why that is. Has anyone done the science on that to figure out why? If you take a screw upside down and you blunt the end with your hammer, it tends not to split. It is true. We have a super chat from Mr. Jack Phillips. Shout out to you, Jack. And Jack writes, good evening. Thank you for the great stream. Just wanted to bother you again about seeing if you needed help with the new house design. Thank you so much. God bless. Jack, I'm so sorry, would you bump your email up to the top, send it wranglerstar.com. Mrs. W and I were going through this morning, we're buried. She took a week off, 6, maybe even 10 days, and all that stuff got buried. It might take her a week to get to it, but send that out there, and I'll make sure she gets it. We've been talking about you. All right. Works with small nails as well. Yeah. Yeah, it does. All right, gentlemen. Well, I'm going to back out. Of course, we didn't finish our project, but I think we got the gist of it. We'll get both those tanks up on there and it won't annoy me every time I look at it. One thing I've realized is that my quality of life goes down the more unfinished projects I see around when I look around. Just even little things, things that don't have a home or things that are not put away, that kind of nag you, and they were a reminder of failure, a reminder of what I haven't got done, and it robs your peace and it robs your joy in life. It's hard to do, but those things, sometimes maybe they might just need to go. That unfinished motorcycle and the old cars, so just let it go. If you can make a few $1,000 off of it, then go and buy something that you're really going to enjoy, that you're going to use, maybe a new rifle, maybe put it towards something that runs, whatever. Maybe you put it towards paying your credit card debt off, whatever, but get it out of there and have a place for everything, and everything has a place. It really changes your life. I like to get to the point where I can walk into my shop environment with peace and serenity, and looking around, not at all of the unfinished things and broken things, but all of the potential and possibilities of new things that could be built and created, right? That's what we want to do. We want to have less but better. Fewer things but better. We need to come up with a good tagline so we can remember it. These little mind tricks help. How could we make it, what we want to say is we want to have fewer things but of higher quality, or even more than higher quality, fewer things, but the things that we have, that they're the best we can get. And not out of vanity or showing off, but out of appreciation for quality and craftsmanship. We have a super chat from Mr. Jack Phillips. Shout out to you, Jack, who writes, "Will do, no worries, God bless." Thank you, Jack. And Kirk Wagner, we're going to shut it down with Kirk Wagner. Kirk Wagner, double Loctite member, I might add, who writes, "I've been watching you for probably 10 years, and now my wife and I bought property to raise our 4 kids, wondering if you still plan on doing those hats." Kirk. It could be another project. Yeah, I need to hire I need to hire some help here. I can't commit to it, but it is definitely in my bucket list of things here. I'm pedaling as fast as I can, gentlemen. All right. Thank you for watching. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you guys on the next video.